What's up, everybody? It's Owen here from the HiiKER Podcast. In this episode of the show, we are going to be talking about the Tour du Mont Blanc, the famous 100-mile looped trail that circumnavigates Mont Blanc Massif. It's considered by many people to be the quintessential European hiking trail, and Paul was lucky enough to hike the trail a couple of years ago. So I caught up with Paul to ask him all about his trip and see if he has any helpful information for our listeners. As always, the trails that we discuss in this show are available on the HiiKER app, so head to your app store to download it for free now, or simply head to hiiker.app. We also have some pretty exciting shows coming up over the next few weeks, so if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe give us a little review. Enjoy the show, and happy hiking! Hello and welcome to another episode of the HiiKER Podcast with me, Owen Hamilton, and our CEO, Paul Finley. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. How are you doing, Owen?
I'm good. I'm stiff as a plank at the moment. My legs, they ache. I'm just off the I'm off the Sleeve Bloom Way, 3 days hiking up and around the mountains there in the Midlands in Ireland. But I'm glad to be out back doing long distance trails again. It feels good. Any news with you?
No, I'm certainly looking forward to doing the episode on the Sleeve Bloom Way. It's a trail that I've wanted to do for a while myself, so I'm looking forward to hearing about that in another episode. But no, otherwise I'm good. I've been out hiking a bit. My brother Mark, who also works with HiiKER, he's our back-end developer, he was on the Barrow Way himself as well, and he really enjoyed that. Now he had to pull up short. He only got 50 kilometers into the trail, but again, he really enjoyed it. He got the best of the weather, actually. We seemed to just get a bit of a break there in the weather, and so he had to pull up short though, hurt his knee a little bit, but I think he's looking forward to get back out on the trail there in the next week or two.
I was actually thinking about Mark when we were out, because the start and the end of the Sleeve Bloom Way crosses over the River Barrow, which is obviously where the Barrow Way kind of goes along. And I actually just thought, well, I'll just hop into the river and just go join up with Mark and, try and complete the trail with him. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a different trail, not even an Irish trail. We're talking about the Tour du Mont Blanc, the 170 kilometres or 110 kilometre loop trail that goes around the Mont Blanc Massif in the Alps. The trail touches through France, goes through Italy and parts of Switzerland. Again, unfortunately, I have not had the pleasure to embark on this adventure, but Paul, he did. So we're going to ask Paul a few questions about his adventure, when he did it, what he did, how he got on, and hopefully this information will help you when you are planning your Tour de Mont Blanc adventure. So, Paul, tell me about your adventure. Give me the overview. When did you do it? Who did you do it with? Give us the
So
intro.
We did it in 2019, and by we I mean myself and my fiance Emer, and it was a trail. After we had done the Wicklow Way, we'd done the Dingle Way, we'd done some of the Kerry Way, we'd done the Camino, the Kerry Camino, obviously, the Causeway Coast Way as well. And we thought, we really wanted to do the Tour de Mont Blanc. Anyone who looks around at the YouTube videos of the Tour de Mont Blanc, you're instantly going to be costing yourself money because you're going to want to do the trail. And I feel the exact same way after having done the trail, because it's absolutely every single view that you see on that trail is just stunning. It is just the quintessential epic views and absolutely scenic areas, copious amounts of cheese, lots of good beer, everything you want in a good hiking trail.
You could say that this would be the pinnacle of European long distance hiking trails.
Yeah, I think that would be very fair. It's certainly the most famous one. I suppose if you're to take something away from the trail, it would be that it gets the crowds to match that. Now, you never feel overcrowded. You never feel like that at all. But it definitely is a very busy trail, and there is a lot of people on it. But as I was saying, we did it in 2018. So you can hike the Tour du Mont Blanc anytime from roughly kind of late June up until the middle of September. Obviously, it can vary from year to year depending on what the weather is like. The big challenge people will find hiking at other times of the year is that the high mountain cols could just be covered with snow and unpassable. There was actually even snow on those cols, particularly south of Les Contam as you're passing over into Italy. There was still a lot of snow down then, but it was very much passable. But I would say any earlier, if you were even in early June that year, it probably would have been very, very difficult to pass, or you would have needed specialist equipment to pass. So but we were there. We arrived in late July. I think we started on the 31st of July, and we hiked the trail over 8 days, which was definitely, we didn't take it easy on ourselves at that rate. We certainly had to make good ground most days.
I was about to ask you how long it took you. So you did it over 8 days. What kind of distances were you covering each day? Was it kind of same every day, or were you changing it up, or what did you do every day?
So it's funny that, when I'm hiking trails in the UK, from hiking trails in Ireland, I would be used to doing 20-mile days, roughly about 20-mile days most days. Doing a 20-mile day in the Tour du Mont Blanc is very, very difficult because the elevation gains are much more extreme, and you're going to be doing a lot of uphill climbing, and that elevation will definitely take its toll on you. So you would be aiming to do roughly 20-kilometer days most days, and at that won't be an easy day. Of course, there is the freaks and weirdos out there doing the best kind of freaks and weirdos doing the likes of the UTMB, who'll do it over the space of 2 days or so. But for any human out there, you'll be doing roughly 20-kilometer days, and at that will be tough. You could easily do it over 10 days and probably be a little bit more comfortable.
So there's a lot of elevation here. There's a lot of varied terrain. Is there any particular gear that you brought with you? Trekking poles or certain types of boots, or is there anything else that you brought with you that you thought, I need this, or even better yet, was there something that you didn't bring? You were like, I should have brought this.
Well, the Tour du Mont Blanc is much less about what you do bring, and it's much more about what you don't bring. And this was the smartest trail I have ever been on, where I went ultralight. I carried as little as possible. Again, all being in the context of it is still Paul, computer programmer, trying to develop apps at the same time. So I did, carry my computer at the same time, and I did also carry a mini drone. But outside of that, I was ultralight. I think I had 2 pairs of underwear. I had maybe 3 socks. I can't even remember. I don't even know if I had 4 socks at all. And I was as light as possible. I think I had 2 t-shirts with me. I only had 1 pair of shorts. I had trail runners. I didn't bring hiking boots. We did bring poles. I highly recommend poles for this trail. It's definitely the kind of trail that you need poles on. And we were very light. Emer was even lighter. Emer, I think she had like a 6-liter bag. I mean, this thing was tiny. It's barely a backpack. And it was perfect for her for this trail. So I kind of carried most of the load there, so she would have a slightly easier time. And as I said, this trail is about what you don't bring. It's not about what you do bring. It's about bringing as little as you possibly can.
So I would imagine then, by bringing light packs, you weren't camping. You weren't wild camping or anything like that. You were staying in accommodation. Tell me a bit about the types of accommodation that you were staying in.
Well, you're bringing up camping first of all there, and it's a good one to talk. So camping is challenging along the TMB. You can wild camp all the way along there, but they want to make your life difficult to do that. Now, I don't know the specific rules, but I'm pretty sure in France you can only camp above 2,500 meters in altitude. In Italy, technically you can't legally wild camp at all. Now, people, please do correct me if I've gotten this wrong. And in Switzerland, I think it is challenging again. I think it may be the 2,500 meter of altitude is the minimum altitude that you can camp at. So you do definitely see a lot of people wild camping along the trail. You'll have seen, you may even yourself on have watched the Abby Barnes. She's got a great YouTube video about the trail. But yeah, camping is challenging along the way. There are plenty of places where you can camp legally through getting a license. So if you set up tent, somebody will come around at night time and they will basically ask you for, I don't know, maybe €20 or something like that to camp. I know that was definitely the case in a town called what was it called? Triont. So it was definitely the case there where I've seen a lot of people setting up almost in the middle of town to camp. And again, a person will come around and you have to buy a license off them for camping there for that night. But we ourselves, we stayed our first night in a hotel called Hotel du Bois in Les Houches. And that's where we started the trail. We were going to be walking in an anti-clockwise direction. And our goal for the first day was to make it as far as a refuge called Refuge Nantes-Brant. And it's about 22 kilometers from the start, but it was a pretty good day's hiking. There was definitely a lot to it. And there was some good elevation gains there. You pass through the town of Les Contams along the way, so it's a great place to stop, grab lunch, and to stock up at the shops. It's a big town in itself. And yeah, we stopped at Refuge Nantes-Brant for the first day. It's very much, shared accommodation. You'll be staying in a room, probably 6 or 7 other people in the room with you. And I highly recommend not camping and staying in the refuges. It's definitely more expensive, so I understand for people who just want to do the trail, get out there, do it, by whatever means possible. But the buzz of the refuges was a huge part of the trail for me. It made the trail for me. It was just, there was so much buzz there. You'd be having beers afterwards. You'd be chatting to people about their hiking. You'd just be talking about people, whatever they do. And I met some really fascinating people, met some good friends on the trail there. So I do highly recommend staying in the refuges.
Yeah, and that kind of goes for a lot of trails as well that we do feature in HiiKER, in the app and the website. A lot of these places have some fantastic accommodations along the trails, and as you'll hear from some of the other episodes that we're doing, like the South Downs Way and the Wicklow Way as well, and future episodes, a lot of them we mix it up. We might camp on some of them, or we might stay in accommodation, or we might do both. But either way, it is about meeting people along the trail. Sometimes, yeah, you want to go off and solo hike and do your own thing, but most times, especially when you and I are hiking, Paul, we love meeting people, and we love, talking about the trail, talking about the day that you just had, and where you've gone, and then just hearing these stories. It's all a part of the adventure. And it is as much about the people that you meet as it is about the journey itself. Are there any more places that you stayed in that you want to talk about?
So for the next day, for our second day, we only did what was roughly about 15 kilometers. But again, it was tough. It definitely was. And myself and Emer went in. We were fit going into this, and believe me, I'm not a big-headed person, or maybe I am, I don't know. But we...
no comment.
But we were, because we had done a marathon just the previous May, so only about 2 months before there. So and we were no slugs going around in the marathon either. I won't reveal my time on this, but so we were fit going in there. But that even that next day, it was only 15 kilometers, but it was very challenging. You have a high col that you have to climb up to the top of Col du Bon Homme. And again, absolutely stunning views there. There was still snow on the ground, but yeah, it was definitely challenging, and it was definitely a long day, despite the fact that it was only 15 kilometers. And we stayed down in Refuge Nova, and again, just a brilliant buzz there. Every night I was like, no, I'm not going to have beers tonight. I really want to take it easy. I must have been in the refuge all of about 15 minutes before I start chatting to somebody. I'm like, God, let's get a beer. Come on, let's have the crack. And yeah, that's just so typical of the TMB. You're going to eat a lot of cheese, you're going to drink a lot of beer, and you're going to love every second of it.
That sounds like my dream right there. Also, it's very typical of the TMB. It's very typical of Paul Finley as well to not say no to a beer if it's put in front of him.
Yeah. The certainly the descent when you're coming down from Refuge du Col de la Crioux. Again, probably butchering the pronunciation, but it was a very steep descent there. It was kind of slow going on there. Again, it's always the views that will make all this very, very easy for you because it's so spectacular, but it was a steep descent. But I think the next day, what would have been day 3 for us, was our toughest day, because we went all the way from Le Chapillot, where Refuge de la Nova is, and we went all the way as far as Culinary in Italy, and that was a really long, very tough day. We were following along. I was obviously building HiiKER at the time. HiiKER wasn't actually a real thing yet. I was only building at the time, and I was coding every night on this trail, but drunk sometimes as well. So that probably accounts for all the bugs. But I was following along on the Cicerone guide, and I have to say it was one of the things that really motivated me, because the guide just didn't do justice for what these seconds. So you have to do one big climb up as you're going up through La Ville des Glaciers, and then you do it's just a big long climb up there, and then you'll be going down towards Refuge Elisabetta. And we, had to keep going past there. We were only about halfway there by the time we got to Refuge Elisabetta, where a lot of people, and I probably would recommend to most people, to stop there for the day. But we kept going on there, and as we had to climb up towards Point des Charmots, I'm butchering these pronunciations, but
Paul, your French is fantastic.
It's beautiful, but you go up towards that mountain, and I just remember the book did not do it justice. I did not expect that to be as tough as it was, and it was a really, really long slug. It was a very long day. It was dark by the time, or getting dark by the time we arrived in Courmayeur. But thankfully, we treated ourselves on that night in Courmayeur. We went out for an absolutely atrocious amount of pizza and pasta. We had two dinners. And you know what? I didn't even feel bad about it. I felt great about it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to eat my second dinner. But yeah, no, we stayed in a hotel that night, and it was great. I have to say, a lot of people do take a 0 day in Courmayeur. And we wanted to so bad. We only booked a hotel for one night. But the problem is here's a great note. You need to book your refuges in advance. Don't show up expecting just to stay in a refuge. It's a bad idea, and it's going to lead to disaster at some point. You have to pre-book them. You can get all the contact details in the HiiKER app itself. I wish I had that so badly, because booking them was really awkward. But in the app, and I took a plug back away from us in the first episode in the South Ends Way. I'm giving all of that plug back towards us now, because honestly, the app will be a really big help, and I would have loved to have it when we are hiking it, because all the contact details are in there for the refuges, so it's super easy to go ahead and book them. Pop them an email, they'll book you right in. I don't even think you have to give a deposit for most of them, but get a booking there, because don't rely on just knocking on the door. I've seen so many people get turned away when we were hiking on the trail. But
oh god, yeah, that must be so debilitating when you're going up and you just hiked that section that you were just talking about there. You're tired, you're distraught, you just want to sit down, and then someone tells you, nope, there's no room at the inn, you gotta go away.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Honestly, I think you need to have this stuff organised. If you have a tent, you can probably maybe get away with it, because you can, you have an alternative to that. If you've no tent, you show up there and you're, even in somewhere like Refuge Elisabetta, you've got a long climb, left for ahead of you to get onto somewhere else, and you got to be hoping that they'll have it there. So make sure you're organised. These are high mountains in a lot of places, and it's not somewhere you want to be stuck out at all. And you don't really want to be putting somebody who is there, having put them under pressure to try get you sorted. So just be organised, get on top of it. All the details are in the app, so you shouldn't have a problem.
I know you probably have other places that you want to talk about, other towns and stuff, but you are going through a lot of towns, and like you're crossing through 3 different countries. While these are remote towns, I suppose in the context of the larger countries that they're part of, is there a certain amount of French or Italian or Swiss that you need to know and to get by, or can you get by with English? Like, are you totally fine speaking English in these towns?
For me, I'm the kind of person where you probably can get by speaking English, but I think it's always nice to make a bit of an effort, and myself and Emer always did that. We had a translator. I think we had some sort of translator. I think we had a bit of a pocket dictionary or something like that with us, and I think people always appreciate you making the effort. But for somebody who is steadfast, determined never to speak another language, you could probably get away with it. It's not going to be much of a problem. You can certainly work your way through it most places, but I think people greatly appreciate you making the effort.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and it's good to have those little Collins translation dictionaries or whatever they are on hand, just for your couple of words, just to get by, just to order a cup of coffee, or to to ask for a room or whatever like that. But in certain parts of the world, they might not have any English whatsoever, and just making it that little bit more difficult. But yeah, you're dead right. Make the effort, learn a couple of words, and the European languages, they're not too dissimilar, so you should be all right. So carry on.
I will just mention with that now, if you are going to be relying on Google Translate, you will not have internet reception for large amounts of it, and when you do have internet reception, it will be so terrible it will be essentially unusable. So obviously, the app itself works entirely offline, so make sure you have your offline maps downloaded in advance, and pretty much plan to not have internet most of the time. You'll get a bit of reception sometimes that you could stop off and catch up on any messages you need to, but often you will not have internet connection. Even when you're staying in some of the refuges overnight, expect to not have an internet connection very often.
And also, just a note as well on Google Translate, don't rely on Google Translate. I've had to use that before, and I've had some very, very strange looks from using Google Translate to get across a very important message to somebody. And anyway, that's a different story. Carry on, Paul.
So after Courmayeur, we went as far, again, we had another really long, tough day. We obviously, as I said, we stayed in Courmayeur, and then I think it was called Hotel Cristallo or something like that it was called, and we went from there as far as La Puelle, which is in Switzerland. So again, that was a pretty long day for us. How long it was? I think that was about 30 kilometers, a little bit less than 30 kilometers, with a big decent climb by I think it was Col de Foray. It was a really, really tough long day for us. And you have the climb out of Courmayeur is tough. And it's a long, tough climb, beautiful views again, so it always makes up for it. Then you'll be making your way up towards the famous refugio, Walter Bonatti, who was a famous mountaineer, alpinist. You will descend down towards Valferret, Chalet Valferret, and then it is at Refugio Elena, stunning Refugio. It's right up, you'll see, like, there's just so many glaciers up behind it. I'm actually been whisked away just thinking of it now. But it's a really, really tough climb up to Col de Foray. And then even when you get to the far side of that, it's a tough slog up as far as La Puelle, where we stayed there. Again, we left Courmayeur very early. We must have left Courmayeur. I think we were going out the door at 6, and it was just kind of first light as we were starting to make our foot on the mountain. But yeah, we arrived in La Puelle very late. And then there was a big queue for the showers. When you get to La Puelle, there's only 2 showers there, so it's a queue. I do remember having a row with somebody of a certain nationality, and yes, somebody skipped the queue, and I do not take very kindly to queue skippers. And yes, and actually, you know what's funny? The person I actually was an American. I will reveal, but I actually became really good friends with the person subsequently, because after having a bit of a row, we ended up staying in the same refuge the very next night. Actually, it was a refuge all the way over near Champay-Lac. And actually made really good friends with the same person. But yeah, La Puelle again. Such a story. I feel like I'm just going to be saying this about every part of the TMB because it is all visually stunning. But La Puelle is really nice. It feels like the most wild of the refuges that we stayed in. It's perched right on top of on the side of a mountain. And it's just so wild. You'll hear nothing but the clanging of bells all night long. The rooms are massive. There must have been about maybe almost 50 people maybe in that room that we were staying in there. And it was absolutely stunning.
Is that there's a video, I think it's on our social media channel on Instagram. Is that the video where you go towards towards the window?
No. That was later on.
Okay, sorry. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Believe me, it only gets more stunning as if anything lets you know. And obviously, that was particularly stunning. We're not even there yet, you know, and that goes to show. So, but that was a long, tough day. You'll just say we were up again, you know, at the crack of dawn because we had another long day. You know, we started La Puelle is at roughly about kilometer 91, and we had to go as far as kilometer. It was like 113, so it was roughly about a 22 kilometer day. It was definitely one of the easier days that day, actually. It was not a lot of elevation gain, but very, very beautiful. You're walking along a river for most of the day, and it's a really nice day. You can grab yourself a good lunch in La Fouille, which you'll arrive in only about an hour after leaving La Puelle, and it was a really, really beautiful day's hiking up as far as Champay-Lac. And I'm not sure what else to say about that. It was just a nice, good, beautiful day's hiking. Champay-Lac is a beautiful town in itself.
And so, what was the weather actually like the entire time you were there? Was there much rain, or was this all sunshine?
It pretty much all sunshine and blue skies. It was raining. It did rain. I think it rained on the first day. It rained twice on the first day, and then I don't think we've seen another cloud literally for the rest of the time that we're there. Now that's not to say that that's what it'll be like for everyone. You can get rain there. You can't even get thunderstorms. We actually did get rain another day, the day we were coming up the Champay-Lac actually, but it was just as we were arriving and actually was turning into what looked like it was what subsequently did become a big thunderstorm, but thankfully it was just as we arrived in I think the refuge we stayed in was Bon Abri, it was called. It was just past Champay-Lac, and it was mostly sunshine for us.
Yeah, I do remember you putting up, don't know if you put it up on social media. You did put it up on social media. The video of just walking through a very verdant section of a trail, and it was just like sheets of rain coming down. And I just remember two hikers going past you. It was at the time I was like, yes, he's in the rain, and I get to go, and I'll do it myself, and it'll be all sunshine. But no, you got the sunshine. For hikers of the TMB, when you are at Champay-Lac,
you face the ultimate question.
Ooh.
You face the ultimate question of whether you go over Col d'Arpet, again butchering the pronunciation, but there we go. Whether you go over Col d'Arpet, or whether you go over towards what's called Bovine, which is the other way towards Trient. So Col d'Arpet would be the highest col on the TMB if you do cross it. I think just about 2,700 meters in altitude, and it's a tough day. Emer's a little bit afraid of heights. She's not overly fond of heights, as you probably shouldn't be, because heights are bad. But she didn't fancy it, and I didn't mind. You're going to have beautiful views anyway. I would love to go back and do Col d'Arpet, but we didn't do it. But yes, it is that day that you have that question in Champex-Lac, and that is probably the most common alt route that people take. It's obviously the alt route is in the app. You can see it there. But that is the most common alt route that people take on the TMB, and it is beautiful. I think it is alt number 17, so we actually have quite a lot of alt routes in the app for the TMB. But you'll see alt number 17 there, and that is the alt that passes up over through the Val d'Arpet and over the Col d'Arpet. And it's a beautiful and tough day, making your way over to Trient, where we stayed in Refuge de Poitiers, which was a beautiful little refuge.
And that was the end of the trip. It came for full circle then.
No.
Oh, apologies.
We still have a few more days to go. No, you're
okay.
You're cutting us off short there.
Apologies. I thought you said you started in Trient. Apologies. I will edit that out. We still had 2 full days to go after that. We had by no means done the loop then, and so yes, we stayed in Refuge de Poitiers in Trient, and it was beautiful refuge there. They cooked out a big barbecue outside for everybody. We didn't have an overly long day that day from Bonabri, just outside Champex-Lac. We had, I think we absolutely flew that day. We must have arrived there probably about maybe 3:30. So again, we actually made some good friends there from America. I think they were from Texas. And we must have sat out for a good 6 or 7 hours. They had a bar in Refuge de Poitiers itself, and we were just sitting out there and we were drinking, and it was absolutely burning crack. Had a really, really great time there. And they cooked a big barbecue outside. Obviously, when you're staying at these refuges, most of the time you'll be booking as like staying half board, so you will get your evening's dinner included and your morning's breakfast included as well. And the food was just so good. Big barbecue, that this delicious German style sausage, and such good food, such good beers. Really, really enjoyable. I really wanted to kind of jump in there. I wanted to jump in earlier as well and actually talk about food. But like, there just seems to be so many things to talk about. I was going to ask you, I know you're not finished yet. You still have a couple of days left. But, can you say now, what was your favourite? What was the most standout food that you had?
The most standout food, I think the barbecue we had that day in Refuge de Poitiers was the best we had. But overall, you know what? It's as much a culinary experience as it is a hike. Go there. Do not go on the TMB hoping to lose weight. Don't. Go there sincerely hoping to gain a lot of weight, because you'll have had a great time if you do that. Yeah. Like I myself, I'm a very simple man when it comes to food on trail. Like I'm a foodie. Do not get me wrong. I am a foodie. I will have whatever is put in front of me. But the fact that this is cheese and wine country, like that's my game. I would nearly replace my bladder of water with a bladder of red wine, and pack my side pockets in the backpack with cheese the entire way. It does sound very inviting. Yeah. No, it really is. It's a great trail as a culinary experience.
You nearly like you wouldn't need, like, did you have snacks along the way? Would you had like trail mix or gorp, as we figured out last time? And did you have anything like that with you, or were you just kind of like, getting to the next town and just nibbling away a bits?
So when you stay in the refuges, you can pay, I think it's probably about maybe €6 or €7 per person. Could even be less. And they will give you lunch for the next day. So when you get your breakfast, they actually give you lunch for the next day as well, which is kind of some breads and some cheeses and some fruit and all sorts of stuff. And I think we took that every day. We didn't carry food outside of that, but we got the lunches every day. So we kind of did it in a fancier way. It's fair enough to say that we got the lunches, we got the half board everywhere we stayed. There would be other people who carry absolutely everything, but no, I really enjoyed it that way. The lunches are great. You get your boiled egg every day, and you get everything else, and it's really good. Yeah,
well, again, it's kind of important to note that this podcast and the app and everything, it's for everybody. You can be your hardcore hiker. You can go and do these trails completely self-sufficient, restocking these towns and all that kind of stuff, or you can do it the way that you did it, and you're still hiking. You're still doing the kilometers. You're still putting in the miles. You're still climbing. But you're just having a bed to sleep in at the end of the day, and you're having somebody else cook your lunch and cook your dinner, and that's absolutely fine. And that's what this is all about, is that it's something for everybody. But yeah, so was there another place you stayed in? Do you have a couple of more days left?
So our last place on the trail that we stayed in was a refuge called Le Fleguerie. Now this was made famous, certainly to me anyway, as the place where I got that really cool video where you're walking out and then you get the stunning view of the Mont Blanc Massif and Mont Blanc itself. And just wow. Again, it was a tough day. Made tough by our American friends, and we met another friend as well. It was a guy who was hiking with his daughter, and they were wild camping all the way along there. But we met them in a small town called Treilachamp. And that was only about halfway for the day for myself and Emer. But we arrived there and we're all chatting away and we're having good crack, and we kind of ended up saying to ourselves, look, sure, let's stop in Treilachamp and let's grab a really quick lunch, just a power lunch, and maybe a power beer or a power beer or two as well. And of course, 1 or 2 beers turned into 5 or 6, and we ended up there until must have been after 4 o'clock. Way too late, because we still had to make it all the way. So that would be at kilometer 140, and we still had to make it all the way to kilometer 146, which is only 7 kilometers from there, but it has a big climb on the way. You're starting at Treilachamp. You're at an altitude of roughly about maybe 1,400 meters, and you got to go up to above 2,000 meters. And then ultimately La Fleguerie itself is at about maybe 1,850 meters. So it was a long climb from there. It probably took us maybe about 2.5 or 3 hours, because we had a couple of beers on us as well. And this is the section, the famous section where you have the ladders of the TMB.
Just before we continue, I just want to say that HiiKER in no way condones drinking and hiking.
Yes, absolutely, agreed. Do never ever drink and hike.
Paul, you were drinking root beer, so yeah.
Root beer and alcohol, zero free alcohol, and I drifted up the mountain alcohol free. But yes, but sorry, this is the section where you have the ladders, and the ladders. Yeah. Again, look, the ladders are completely possible, but there definitely will be a bit of a fear factor there for some people, because they're very steep. Obviously, you have to do pretty kind of high climbs. You might be doing anywhere up to kind of 10 meters, maybe not quite 10 meters, but you are shimmying across kind of rock face and stuff like that while you're holding onto a railing. So, for anyone with a fear of heights, this section is something that you may want to bypass. There are lower routes that you can take that that do bypass the ladders. There's also a higher route that you can take that bypass ladders. The higher route will be tough. Brings you up near Lac Blanc, but yeah, it is a tough day, and the ladders, it's I found the ladders really entertaining, really fun, but they certainly do add a challenge. But yeah, we stayed in La Fleguerie that night. It was absolutely stunning views there. We were pretty tired, honestly, when we wrecked there, so I think we hit the hay quite early. But you're staying again in a really big dorm. There must be about 30 or 40 people in it.
And was there drinks had then again? I mean, root beers and non-alcoholic beer or wines that night?
There was not. Too tired.
Too tired.
Hit the hay. Absolutely conked that night. Barely even budged. So there was no beverages had that night, and we had to prepare ourselves because we had our final day ahead. Mm-hmm. We had 14 kilometers left, roughly, and so we prepared ourselves for that, and. So that was it. It was on this day that you have to go up across the top of La Brevante, which is a decent climb. It's certainly a decent and long climb up to Brevante, but again, it's a some people may choose to stay in refuge Bellechat, which is kind of a small bit after Brevante, but we didn't. We had a nice little lunch at Brevante itself. You can get in. There's a shop right at the very top of the mountain, and it is beautifully placed with gorgeous hot chocolate and ice creams. And it went down a storm, gave us all the energy we needed to power through and finish in Les Houches. Where we had done the full circle, and we gave ourselves a good high five. Really, really satisfying finish, though. It's great, and they have a nice big finish line that you finish at itself.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like you really had a great time, and the staying in hotels and everything like that to me that's a nice way to do it. Like, when you're going through a very trafficked trail like the Tour du Mont Blanc, I would imagine that wild camping can get it can nearly be as tough as getting a place at a hotel. Because I remember Abby Barnes, when she was doing her trip, there was sections where she did wild camp. Well, it wasn't even really wild camping. She was camping in campsites, and she was actually in some cases finding it difficult to find places to actually set up her tent. So having that luxury of staying somewhere, it's just where you're going to put your head down for the night. But you're still going out. You're still doing those miles and those kilometers and climbing up the mountains. It's definitely on my list. It's going to be done at some point once I'm allowed to leave the country. But yeah, sounds like you had a great time. I'm trying to think, is there any questions that I have about it? You seem to kind of cover everything there with everything. So your food, your pack, your what you did every day. I suppose, what was the most standout moment along the Tour du Mont Blanc that you can think of?
The most standout moment on the TMB for me, I think it was probably when we were at Refuge Elena. It was the day we'd left Cormier, and we were, it was probably about halfway towards La Puelle where we were staying that night. And I remember we were quite tired, obviously, when we get there, as you often will be on the TMB. But we got a Coke, a full-on Coke, none of that Diet Coke stuff. We got a proper Coke, and I remember just kind of sitting there, and then I don't know what it was, but I had my blinkers on up until that moment. I looked up, and I just remember seeing the glaciers and the Mont Blanc Massif. And honestly, it's actually one of the moments in my life where I just went and I just look at the majesty of this. Look at it was just tough to fathom what my eyes were actually seeing. It was just so beautiful, so massive. It made you feel so insignificant, yet it also just made you feel so appreciative of how beautiful the natural world can be and how stunning this part of the world is. It's a moment that honestly will never leave me. It really will never leave me, because it was just so. It just honestly took my breath away.
It sounds beautiful, but also I'm kind of the first thing I thought, what did they put in your Coke? It's the sugar rush. It's the sugar rush.
Yeah.
No, I can picture it. Okay, that was a really good synopsis, and not just a synopsis, a really good in-depth discussion about the TMB. Really, like, you've always kind of painted it in a really good light, and I've always wanted to go ever since you've done it. I don't get a chance to give this one a rating. Is Emer in the room? Is she next to you at all?
She is not. She is fast asleep with her baby Hayley downstairs. So I'm gonna have to give this a rating myself.
Okay.
And
no, Paul.
Yeah.
No, Paul. Let's be fair.
This almost makes me feel bad for giving the other one such high rating, because it would feel like it won't give the contrast that this trail deserves. But obviously this trail is a 5-star, and it's a particularly high 5-star.
Yeah.
Because it is special. Yes, it is busy in places, but it's part of the trail. You know, I said to myself when I started the trail, I'm going to say hi to. I'm going to say bonjour, buongiorno, and I think bonjour in the western part of in Switzerland as well. So bonjour. And I said bonjour to everybody I went past, and everybody said it back, and it was friendly. Every refuge, you're making friends with people. This is a 5-star trail. This is a trail that I want every hiker out there that's listening to this. You have to hike it at some stage. You will really enjoy it. But, you know, expect it for what it is. This is a social trail. This is a trail for meeting other hikers. But this is a trail where you are going to experience views like you've never experienced in your life. Or, well, a lot of people haven't experienced their life. So, yeah, it's beautiful.
Great. Fantastic. Well, I think at this stage we're going to have to start caveating your 5 stars. Yeah. It's a 5-star that you sleep in a house, or it's a 5-star where there's cheese and wine everywhere you look. It's brilliant. Thanks very much for bringing us through that, Paul. And yeah, I second that. I'm going to be one of those people that are going out and doing it at some point when we can leave our borders. I guess that's it. We'll leave it at that. Unless you have anything else to add to that, Paul.
Nope, that's everything for me.
Great stuff. Okay, well, thanks for everybody for tuning in. We want to start getting questions in this. So if you have any questions for us, things that you want us to cover in the podcast that we haven't covered in, if you want us to cover a particular trail, if you want any kind of hints and tips about the app itself, or just any kind of questions about hiking in general, you can get us on social media. So our social media handles are at HiiKER _ on Instagram. Just search HiiKER on Facebook and you'll find us there. We are on Twitter. We're more active on Instagram and Facebook at the moment. And you can also email the podcast specifically with podcast at HiiKER.co. And that's HiiKER with 2 I's, obviously. So podcast at HiiKER.co. Thank you as always, Paul. It was a pleasure. We'll be back very soon with the next episode. I'll see you then. Goodbye, Paul.
Goodbye.